Oh yeah, I was reading apparently the mob's having a rough time with the millennials and zoomers that they have to hire nowadays.
The mob?
Yeah, the New York mob is still going, and they're frustrated because there's like no inner city youths who like the mob anymore. And so they're like they have to go out to the fucking suburbs to go get kids. Like fucking Antonio in Yonkers is joining up with the goddamn mob once he gets off TikTok.
I mean, there's so much to unpack in that. It's like, yeah, because you all moved to the suburbs the minute you could.
Also, I don't know
What's
if you
your
realize
diversity training?
it's not good. We let in that one Irish guy.
Yeah, exactly. And then he left to go to the IRA.
Exactly. You trained him and then he got a better job. It's how it works. Yeah,
hey,
and it's
no
like
one wants to work.
God damn it. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have really been reading the numbers of the mob. You guys haven't been doing good numbers recently. It's not
since the 80s. Like I would say ever since the PR of John Gotti.
Yeah. If I remember that a month ago, everyone got arrested again. So I don't know how many times everyone has to get arrested before you run out of guys who know how to run a business, let alone the mob.
Like every 15 years, there's maybe an actual RICO case.
Mob would call these layoffs. So keep your nose clean. We're going to be expanding remote work to...
We are having what might be known as redundancies.
So we're going to be looking out into Rockland County for anyone who might be good for the business.
You know anyone in Nassau?
Anyone in Poughkeepsie who wants to join up?
Scranton.
Oh my God. Man, well, this is going to be a fun one where we start on a riff and then the music. Hey, everyone, welcome to Gadfly, the podcast where we make fun of the mob because it's safe to do that now.
The mob isn't known for doxing, so yes, I do feel safe with them.
Oh, God damn it. Yeah, this is the podcast where we talk about third-party politics, fringe candidates, and just generally weird American electoral history. I'm Dusty Wilson.
I'm Una O'Leary.
Una, what's your mob name?
Ooh, Carmela, probably.
Oh, that's a good one. That's
be a mob wife.
I think mine would be admin assistant. You know, I'm the guy bringing everyone pasta, and I have to make sure that it's not like from Boston Market or anything. And
you're the one who has to quickly learn how to do a shuffle dance before Joe Pesci shoots you in the foot.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Like I don't know how, but somehow I was able to tell these guys that the price of pasta is going up due to work shortages and shit, and for some reason I didn't get killed. So
yeah,
small victories.
Yeah, you were the messenger for supply chain economics.
Look, I just put in my hours now. Eventually, everyone gets arrested. I'm going to be running this shit by 2028.
Gold watch, motherfucker.
And we're going to pivot.
Put in my time.
We're going to pivot and start making chips. It's going to be great.
Ooh, yes. Slightly offensive Italo-American chip company.
Oh, yeah.
It can't be any worse than those like chips with various rapper names.
Oh, hey, look, I will not have you besmirch the name of Rap Snacks, the most delicious chips I've ever had in my
Are they really good?
They are obscenely fucking good.
All right.
Yeah, Cardi B's cheddar barbecue. Oh my fuck. It's
all right.
It's simple shit, but it's so goddamn good.
Rap Snacks, you have our attention. Please sponsor us.
Oh my God. I would, if Rap Snacks gave us a case of the Migos ranch sour cream and onion chips, I would pour myself off so quickly. It wouldn't even be fair.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say those weird Lay's chips they try every single year where they're like, here's 5 new flavors. All are bad.
No, but again, with family deeper into the Midwest than you and I generally are, yeah, they are in those pockets of communities where Lay's or Coca-Cola tries out various like jalapeno seltzer water, the things that are doing really well in Taiwan. And they're just like, fuck it, let's give it a shot in Ames, Iowa.
Oh my God. I have nothing else to do today. Why don't I just drink mango Pepsi and see if I like it?
Yeah, exactly.
We talk about politics. This is
right. Oh my God. Okay.
That's strong mob and chip opinions, which we could still probably go on for.
I absolutely have. For our patron listeners.
Oh my God. Don't cross us. So this episode, I'm very happy to say that all this goofball bullshit we've been up to, this is actually going to fit really, really well for what we're talking about today. This is essentially going to be a problem-free, chill the fuck out episode.
Fingers crossed.
For the most part. There's like some small shit, but it's,
it always is. Yeah.
So I hope I don't ruffle too many feathers when I say this. But Key West, Florida, Una, it is buck wild.
Oh my God, I can't wait. My parents used to take me down there at like odd times of the year when I was in kindergarten because they could just pull me out and get like really cheap seats on airfare. And it was in the 80s when it was still like kind of a low-key art gay scene. Yeah, I love it. I love it down there. Oh, I'm so excited.
So it's history, it's politics, and it's somewhat recent foray into satirical comedy. It's the kind of stuff that you don't really find in many places in America. And to give folks an idea of the weird energy that Key West has, I'm just going to run through a few bullet points first before hopping into its history. So Key West is the home of Robert the Doll, a paranormal object reportedly haunted by the spirit of a young Bahamian girl seeking all kinds of revenge if you don't give it proper respect.
Oh my, I'm terrified.
This revenge has included car accidents, broken bones, job losses, divorces, and other misfortunes.
Oh, I 110% believe in this.
Yes.
Sight unseen.
I'm a big fan of haunted dolls, and Robert is not to be fucked with. 2, it's also the home of radiology technician Carl Tanzler. Carl became obsessed with a woman by the name of Elena Milagro de Hoyos in the 1930s. And at the time, she had tuberculosis, and Carl worked at the hospital that initially was treating her. And in between treating her for tuberculosis, he just kind of casually stalked and harassed her for quite some time. But her family was like, he's the one guy who knows how to kind of work on this, so we, tread lightly, I guess.
No!
Eventually, Elena dies of tuberculosis. And 2 years after she dies, her body goes missing from the mausoleum where she was born. In 1940, they find out that good old Carl took it,
No!
put a death mask on it, and kept it in his bedroom.
Oh, Dusty, I just ate.
I'm sorry, it's all downhill from here.
Oh.
It's all uphill, I meant.
Okay. Oh, dear God, how could it get worse?
Carl was also charged with no crimes at all, and the public just viewed him as a goofy old romantic.
Oh, God, I'd say different times, but who even knows?
Yeah. The city is also home to about 50 polydactyl cats.
Yep.
Which means they are cats with 6 toes.
Yes, the Hemingway cats.
Yep, they were brought there by Ernest Hemingway because the dude had an obsession with them. He brought 70 cats, and the 50 that still exist there today are their descendants. So thanks to this and so many other stories, the city has gained an unceremonious nickname of Key Weird. And of course, our story out of Key West is its own kind of freaking weird. And to get a non-paranormal or murdery or cat-based foundation, I think we need to start with the foundation of the city itself. So prior to the 1800s, there's evidence that the local indigenous population knew of the island of Key West, but really didn't see much need for staying there. Pretty much they'd go there to fish, hunt, or gather resources, and aside from that, no one really wanted to stay. And really, even during colonization, the thing that takes everything in its path, even then the British and the Spanish didn't see much of a need to start living on the island. So in 1815, Juan Pablo Salas, an officer of the Royal Spanish Navy, was given the island of Key West by the Spanish colonial governor of Cuba, Juan Ruiz de Apodaca. For the most part, Key West was used by Cubans and Bahamians to fish, catch turtles, cut lumber, and start shipwrecks for sunken treasure, which usually meant wood. They found lumber, or they found tools. It's never like fucking doubloons and shit. That's like you find one boat in your life that's doubloons, and the rest is, paper fans in a crate.
It's the exception, not the rule.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're getting into fucking sunken treasure for the doubloons, you're in the wrong industry, man. You're gonna fucking wash out.
You're not doing it for love of the game.
So the closest Key West would come to regular inhabitants would be the pirates that occasionally laid low on the island for periods at a time. Salas would end up doing pretty much the same and just let the island sit. Just kind of appreciate and value. And he kept the island until 1821. Now, this would be the year that the Adams-Onis Treaty of 1818 came into effect, which established an official border between America and New Spain. And as part of the concessions for giving New Spain a bit more land in the west, Spain gave America all of Florida. So sensing an opportunity, Salas put the lure out for buyers. And much like the 2021 housing market, he found multiple interested parties.
Oh, Florida.
The first was former governor of South Carolina, John Geddes. In exchange for the island, Geddes was willing to trade a ship worth $575. So adjusted for today's value, and replacing a ship with a car so we have a better idea of the value that we're getting here, it would be like getting a whole island in exchange for a brand new Mitsubishi Mirage, a car that US News and World Report rates as 4.9 out of 10, and describes as, quote, woefully underpowered, noisy, has a cheaply built interior, and is also missing key safety features. Dude, I watched the crash tests on this car. If you got hit on the driver's side, your feet are gone.
Oh my God.
You got stumps after getting hit in that car. It is the goddamn worst. There's a YouTube channel called Doug DeMoro where he reviews cars. It's his second worst reviewed car next to like that Mr. Bean 3-wheeled car.
Oh my God.
And apparently they made the car so cheaply that, when you lock your car door, when it's unlocked, you see red, and when it's locked, it's just black.
Yeah.
They didn't put red. They didn't put in the money for red. It's just black whether it's locked or unlocked. Best of luck. Fuck you.
You have a 50-50 shot. You're not getting out of this car.
100%. Also known as a car that is worth Key West.
Wow. You know what? As a Key West stan, I don't appreciate this dig.
No, it's a real low ball offer. I don't like it. But lucky for one, he also had a second buyer on the line, businessman John Simonton. Now, the two would meet at a cafe in Havana, and after a bit of negotiating, John offered to take Key West off his hands for $2,000, or about $48,000 in today's cash. Now, John had actually been pressed to purchase the island via his friend John Whitehead. John had previously been to the island mainly because he got shipwrecked there in 1819, and in between foraging for survival and wondering if he's actually going to die there and oh god, what have I done with my life, he couldn't help but notice all the untapped potential of the island.
Yes.
It's like, that bargaining part of death. It's like, when I get off this island, I'm going to really do something with it.
It's like you're walking through a haunted house, but you also know if you blew out the kitchen, you could get incredible resale value if you live.
The clown with the chainsaw really made me shit myself, but what this place could really use is an open concept.
But honestly, some new wallpaper and
God.
It's a dream
You put in
instead of the current nightmare.
Oh my god, it'll be great. Even the demons living here will be happy with this. It'll be fine. Now, a fun detail is that Key West and the Florida Keys actually weren't mentioned in the Adams-Onis Treaty, so technically, the land was still under Spanish control. But that little fact be damned, Solis sold Key West to both men, and I assume he then skipped town with $50,000 in the shittiest new boat money could afford, never to be seen again.
Wow.
So Geddes and Simonton would spend the next few months fighting it out in court to prove who were the true owners of this island that technically no one wanted. But thanks to Simonton having better contacts in the federal government, he was able to become the legal owner of Key West. So Simon went about trisecting the island into plots and gave them to each of his 3 closest friends, including John Whitehead. Now, Simonton would mainly just visit the island in the winter and spend the rest of the year going about his business in Alabama and pushing for the U.S. government to establish a military base to help ensure law and order. And shortly thereafter, Commodore Matthew Perry was sent to the island by the U.S. government and planted the American flag in the sand, hereby claiming the Keys to be all American. And Spain responded by not really fucking caring. And that's why we have the Florida Keys as part of America.
Wow. In my heart, Spain didn't care because they knew the joke was on us. Like, if you've been to Miami, it's not really an American city.
Well, for part of what I was reading is that the Adams-Onis Treaty only lasted for 183 days because shortly after the treaty was signed, Mexico declared independence. And so when we were like, hey, Key West is ours, is that cool? They're like, kind of busy. A little busy right now.
Can we circle back to this?
No. We're not sending another boat. We're building townhouses.
We're Americans.
We just figured out who we were. Within 9 years of buying and developing the island, the city of Key West had become the wealthiest city per capita in the entire country. Not only that, but in 1845, Simonton would end up getting his wish, and work on Fort Zachary Taylor would begin. And when you know it, the dang thing was pretty much operational by the time the Civil War started. And a weird fact about Key West was technically part of the Union throughout the entire Civil War. Now, it's not because they didn't support the Confederacy. There are many historians that say locals in Key West were constantly flying the Confederate flag. It's just when you have the U.S. Army and Navy outside of your town, it's kind of hard to secede.
Yeah, that's fair.
So no major fighting would be seen in Key West throughout the Civil War. And after peace was declared, they went right back to work harvesting their most valuable of crops, salt. So prior to the war, salt had made Key West rich and was the center of salt production in the United States from 1830 to 1861. The thing, though, is Key West was about to be hit by the natural enemy of the Caribbean islands and Florida, a big fuck-off hurricane. The Cuba South Florida hurricane of 1876 was what we would know today as a Category 3 and had winds recorded as high as 115 miles per hour. And to make matters worse, the eye of the storm went right over Key West.
Oh, that's a yikes.
Yeah, meaning the island bore the worst of the storm. Tide swells were reported to be as high as 10 feet, and the storm entirely wiped out the settlement of Palm Beach, Florida. When the storm had passed, the tidal pools used for salt harvesting were ruined. Salt harvesters on the mainland, unaffected by the storm, began to take over the industry, leading to Key West completely abandoning the salt business.
Damn.
The thing, though, is Key West had a fallback option to keep the profits coming in. Just 90 miles south, the 10 Years' War was waging in Cuba, where the locals were fighting for their independence from Spain. The revolution would be unsuccessful, and during the fighting, many Cubans would leave the island for Key West. And with them, they brought the newest industry to keep their new home rich: cigars. Within a decade, as many as 20 cigar factories would call Key West their new home, once again ensuring that the island would remain one of the wealthiest cities in the entire country for another set of decades. I mean, that would be until an act of God punched Key West right in the stomach. On April 1st, 1886, a fire began at a coffee shop. Now, there's a little bit of speculation that the fire might have been started by the Cuban government, partially for retaliation for Key West taking in so many revolutionaries. That being said, there's really not that much evidence out there to prove that, aside from the fact that the fire started right next to the Cuban Historical Center, but that's tenuous at best.
Yeah.
Either which way, the fire would spread through 50 acres of the city, taking out 18 of the cigar factories that were built. The fire would last up to 12 hours, mainly due to a combination of fierce winds that reignited the fire even after people thought it had been extinguished, and because Key West's sole fire truck was in New York City for repairs.
It was all the way in New York City?
New York City, the one place you could fix a fire truck.
Oh, all right.
There must
Wow.
have been a pretty bad thing wrong with the truck for like them to send it all the way up there. Otherwise, I have no idea why it was up there. And this would also lead to the fire station burning down.
Oh.
Which I feel like is the own goal of a fire. Aside from the loss of life and business and everything, like the second the fire station burns down, I think everyone just walks away and never comes back.
Yeah, you got to take out your nemesis.
So the fire destroyed much of the city's business district and left 4,000 people suddenly unemployed. And despite nearly all the businesses burning to the ground, by the end of the 1880s, Key West was back on its feet and still, per capita, one of the wealthiest cities in the country. So going into the 1900s, the city would be host to setback after setback. And yep, all of them are hurricanes. In 1909, the Florida Keys hurricane, a Category 3, would destroy half of Key West, resulting in the ruin of 500 homes, 7 churches, 9 cigar factories, and this time 2 fire stations.
Because it's a sequel.
It's... Hurricanes are all pissed off because a fucking fire is going to come in here and cause more damage than us. Fuck you. Where are your stations? The very next year, the Cuba hurricane, a Category 4 storm with winds up to 150 miles per hour, would hit the Keys, and a storm tide of 15 feet would end up moving into the town. Now, once again, the city was destroyed with buildings being ripped from their foundations in the surge. The local Weather Bureau office had been gauging how much rain was falling, and when it hit, I believe, about 3.9 inches, the gauge got washed out to sea. Always a great sign.
Yeah, that's your indication.
Once again, yeah, when that goes, I was like, guys, I think we got to go home. We're calling it a day. We lost the fire
Game
stations.
over, man.
Our rain gauge is in the Gulf of Mexico. I think we need to fucking cut.
I think we have our answer.
How many inches? All inches.
Yeah. Todos los inches.
And finally, in 1919, another Category 4 hurricane would hit the Keys dead on, once again destroying most of the city. This particular hurricane ranks as the 9th deadliest in American history, and this was primarily because after it hit Key West, it was really hard to track hurricanes back then because it's pretty much like guesses and wind socks, so you're doing your best. And for a brief second, the Weather Bureau thought it was tracking north to Louisiana, and the folks of Corpus Christi, Texas heard this, and they started taking down all their storm preparations right in time for the hurricane to hit them without any warning.
Oh no!
Yeah, it was no bueno, as they say in Corpus Christi.
Damn.
But it wasn't all hurricanes and catastrophic destruction for Key West in the 1900s. One of the big pains of living in the Keys is that you're kind of pretty cut off from the rest of the country. Unless you go there by boat, you don't have many other options. And as the country began to grow more connected by trains and cars, the Keys were missing out on all that sweet expansion. So in 1905, the Florida East Coast Railway began an expansion of their trains to Key West. The ultimate goal behind this was to connect the country to the southernmost deep sea port in the nation, as a way to get folks even closer to the newly built Panama Canal. To the train company, they viewed this as just printing money. The problem, though, is that to make this work, the railway would have to figure out how to build an entire rail system of bridges and track over a ton of ocean. 4,000 men would work on what became known as the Overseas Railroad, and despite it being hit by 3 hurricanes during construction, the extension would be completed in 1912. And when it was done, the folks who did shipping really didn't care. I mean, Key West isn't a huge port, and New York is, and so is Miami, and it's not really gonna, like, if you want to move to Key West from Miami, you're not really saving a ton of time.
Yeah, you just got a little bit closer.
So it wasn't really getting that huge of a boost from that as they were expecting, but the folks at Key West ended up benefiting quite a bit, mainly because now they had a better option for exporting their goods. They had regular supplies of fresh water coming in from the mainland. But not only that, there was now an affordable, non-boat option to get there. And this is when Key West's third business boon had arrived. Tourism.
Yay!
And to boost that tourism bank even further, in 1926, a little company called Pan American Airlines would be founded as a simple one-route flight connecting Key West to Havana, just about a decade before becoming the most powerful airline in the entire country for quite some time.
Shut up! This is Pan Am's origin story too.
Kind of, sort of, yeah.
Goodness.
Yeah, there's like a little office where Pan Am started when it was just like, yeah, we're flying mail to Havana. Who wants to get shoved in a sack?
Who wants rum?
I mean, look, I'll get in the sack if you give me rum.
I'm not getting in, Zach.
So once again, things are looking up for the rich city on the sea. But what's that? Things are looking good for Key West. Well, fuck them. Better turn the old hurricane machine and set this fucker to 11 this time. Because in 1935, a storm formerly known as Hurricane 3 would form. But colloquially, it'd become known as the Great Labor Day Hurricane. Now, typically, most hurricanes begin their formation off the coast of Africa, gain strength as they travel across the ocean, and hit hurricane strength as they near the Caribbean islands. So Hurricane 3 wouldn't be like that. Instead, this one formed near the Lesser Antilles Islands of Turks and Caicos. And when it reached the Bahamas, it had become a tropical depression, the next lowest ranking on the hurricane scale. And within one day, it just skipped over tropical storm and became a fucking hurricane. The hurricane barreled towards the Florida Keys, and by the time it got there, it had turned into one of the most powerful Atlantic hurricanes in modern history. Now, it would be labeled as what's known as a Category 5, or the strongest category that you can have for a hurricane. And to be able to hit that, you have to have winds that are sustained for a minute for 156 miles per hour. And Hurricane 3 had winds at 185 miles per hour.
Oh, damn, this hurricane is roided up.
It's really kind of hard to, I don't know. I was debating whether or not to bring barometric pressure into all this, but typically, the lower the barometric pressure, the more intense a hurricane's going to be. This had I believe, the second lowest barometric pressure recorded in modern history. This thing was a fucking monster. There were people who had lived their entire lives on Key West who said they had never seen a storm like this in their entire fucking lives.
Damn.
In total, 408 people would be killed by the hurricane. The town of Isla Morada, which is in the Florida Keys, just a little bit east of Key West, would just be completely obliterated. Included in the toll were hundreds of veterans of World War I who had been dispatched to the Keys to aid in the building of roads and mosquito prevention. When the hurricane hit, many of these men were living in tents with nowhere to go amidst the storm and the tidal surge. And to make things even worse, many bridges of the overseas railroad had crumbled during the storm. With the use of rail diminishing, the expected profits never really being what they expected, and finances being pure shit thanks to the Great Depression, it had been decided that the broken sections of the railway would not be repaired, leaving Key West, once again, stranded from the rest of the country. There's a really cool postcard online of the overseas railroad where it's literally a train on a bridge with sea waves hitting so hard that they're like hitting the wheels of the train. It looks like the worst experience possible.
Yeah.
Another big thing during the hurricane is the overseas railroad had sent people out of the Keys who were evacuating the area, and the hurricane ended up hitting before the train got to port in Miami. It blew over the fucking train.
No
one died. Some injuries, but no one died. But it's still just like one of the most crazy fucking things, because it was like, it wasn't turning, it wasn't doing anything that was helping the wind. It was on a straight section of track and just blew the fuck over.
It's just nope.
Yep.
Slap.
New hurricane. You fuckers. How dare you build on a fucking island? Eat my shit. So 3 years after the hurricane, Key West would gain its connection back to the mainland via U.S. Route 1. So a plan had existed to create a highway to the islands to reach Florida, and this had been part of the New Deal projects that Roosevelt was working on. But initially the plan was just to build it alongside the railroad, but now there was all this track and previously existing structures for bridges. They're like, well, fuck it, let's just use what's already here.
Yeah, hate to let that go to waste.
And only for cars. We'll be
Hashtag
good.
Build Back Better.
Yes, god damn it. I want to build a train to Key West. It didn't work the first time, but god damn it, you keep trying. And so despite all of this kind of catastrophe of the bridges falling down and this giant destructive hurricane hitting the city, this also kind of seems to be where things in Key West would take a turn. There's still a popular temporary home for luminaries such as Ernest Hemingway, Truman Capote, and Tennessee Williams. Betty Page lived there for a little bit, but at the same time, salt and cigar businesses were essentially gone. With the highway, Key West would have to rely almost entirely on tourism to keep things afloat, which brings us to why we're talking about Key West in the first place.
Ooh.
Which also means we have to talk about a dude by the name of Dennis Wardlow. Now, the best way I think I can describe old Denny is that the dude is a fucking square. He just everything about what he does for the most part is just like, you fucking dork. What? Stop it. You're not helping. So he was born in 1944 and lived his entire life in Key West. There isn't a ton about his youth, but it should be noted that at one time he had served as the president of the city's branch of the JCs. Now, Una, do you know what the JCs do, or have you heard of them?
I have not, and I do not.
Okay, so the JCs are a name that I've heard a ton when growing up, especially in Ohio. But as a shitty millennial, I have no clue what they did until I researched it just this weekend. I mean, it's a lot like the Kiwanis or the Knights of Columbus. Don't know what you do. I know you have a building. I think you pick up trash off the side of the highway once a year.
Or like the Elks? Is this just like
the fucking Elks? Yeah. They're sort of like that. So essentially the JC stands for the United States Junior Chamber. They're founded in 1920 for men between the ages of 18 and 40 to learn business management and other business things. And when Dennis was president of his chapter, it was right during the peak membership period of this particular group. Now, huge surprise, the JCs are not doing so well nowadays, mainly because no one's interested. It's like there's not a huge millennial push to get folks into the JCs or into the Elks.
Well, maybe if they would just allow 3 children in a trench coat to pretend that they're adults looking to do a business.
Yep,
like Vincent Adultman.
Look, everything is fixed by 3 kids in a trench coat. Doesn't matter who, they'll get it done.
Just open up their ranks a little bit.
Funny you should mention this. In 1984, they were sued because they didn't allow women into the JCs, and the Supreme Court were like, "Yeah, that's discrimination, my dudes." And so
I specifically dudes.
Yeah, and so they had to let women in, but they were like, "We're going to call them something different. They're going to be JCettes or JCs," I think was the other one. Either which way, it was just like, we're still going to let you know you're a fucking woman. That fact you forget on a regular basis.
Yeah. The thing you're able to ignore routinely.
Constantly. Look, just be like a man and just forget that you're a dude on a regular occasion until the toxicity needs to come out.
Yeah, we get that you're a woman with weird parts and crazy hormones.
Why, do you want to start like a yarn business? I guess we can help with that. I don't fucking know. Anyway, enough misogyny. Let's get back to the misandry. That's what people want.
Yes.
God damn it. So Dennis, he's born. He's the president of the JCs in Key West. So when Dennis was president of the chapter, he was kind of well known throughout town because as president of the JCs, he held dances, he had events, and at one point he had led a reformation of one of the groups in the Key West government that was usually an appointed position, and he led a movement to have it be a voted position. And so, he's a young dude, but he's doing a lot with his dorky-ass club. But you know what they say? Every president of the JCs is tempted with the quest for great power. I think Hemingway said that. And in 1973, at the age of 29, Dennis would dive into his first political race, running for the city commission. In his campaign slogan, he promised, quote, fresh approach to old problems, and ended up upsetting his 70-year-old competitor, easily winning the city commissioner position. And then 1 year later, Dennis would apply for a job as the admin assistant at the Florida Keys Aqueduct Authority, the folks in charge of making sure that the Keys got fresh drinking water on a regular basis, so death don't happen.
Yeah.
Now, a number of folks, mostly seniors in Key West, would be less than stoked about this, mainly because the job had never been posted publicly. And to them, it kind of seemed like the FKAA had just kind of created a job out of thin air for, an influential member of the city council. Now, it should be noted that everyone in Key West government had a second job for the most part. It was one of those things where you couldn't make that job your full-time job. So then only rich people really ever did it.
Yeah, I just assume everyone's got, if nothing else, a little gallery on the side, or they're picking up conchs.
Exactly.
And selling them to tourists.
If I remember right, Dennis had a landscaping business at the time, is what he was doing with his money.
There you go.
But yeah, so there'd be a little bit of a hubbub, but that would eventually pass, and Dennis would serve in both positions without controversy. That is until 1976. Now, Una, I know this is starting to become a bit of a theme with us, and some people might say we have a problem. Una, we got to talk about cocaine. Cocaine, yeah, it's party fuel. So one of the great things about Key West, especially
first you get the money,
then you get a job on the Florida Keys Aqueduct Authority.
Then you get an education.
Yeah,
you
go to the College of the Keys.
Then you get the women.
But only we'll get to that. We are going to get to that because Dennis has opinions. Anyway.
Oh my God.
So yeah, one of the great things about Key West, especially if you're a part of the whole white party powder industry, is that it is a great place to sneak a fuck ton of coke into the States. There are tons of places where you can land your boat where no one's around. There are a few members of the Border Patrol actually looking through your shit. And it is a 3.5-hour drive from Miami. Una Dale.
Lord.
It's really just good coke business to run everything you can through here. And it turns out a lot of the members of the Key West government thought the exact same thing.
Shut up.
They just really weren't very good at hiding their business practices.
So we said they needed a second job.
Yeah, look, I mean, everyone deserves minimum wage, even government employees, if it's an elected position. Otherwise, you end up like fucking New Hampshire, where you have 5,000 members of the House of Representatives. They make $5,000 a year, and they're all weird rich kids.
No.
So the Pensacola News Journal would state in their article, quote, Key West, Rich Man's Island, Dope Import Center. They would state, quote, once it was Florida's richest city. Since September, more than 30 persons have been indicted on narcotics or corruption charges, including the city manager, city attorney, fire chief, and a city detective. Now, of all those dudes, I am going to bring up one, the fire chief, because the dude's name is Joseph Farto, Farto, but he went by a different nickname. You couldn't call him Joseph, you couldn't call him Joe. He went by Bum. His name was Bum Farto.
So he was definitely on drugs.
Oh, he was on so much coke. He was just like, everyone's going to be, all right, guys, I got to figure out a way to deal with my fucking last name. How are we going to do this? We're going to figure this out. It's going to be great. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lean in. I'm going to lean in so fucking hard. I'm going to lean in. Hey, can you hear me? Because I am leaning in as close as I can. I don't want to fuck up your ears. Hey, we should start a band. Anyway, this has been Coke Corner. It was pretty much like if NPR did coke.
Oh, what I will dream about tonight.
Oh man, Ira Glass just fucked up on cocaine, my God. Anyway, Florida media began having a field day shitting on Key West, and in the process, pissing off Dennis. He began to become a huge mouthpiece for the city's fight against the state media, going as far to claim, quote, there's no more dope here than anywhere else. The media has blown it up. Now, part of this might have been his genuine love for the city, and the other part was probably that he was friends with a number of government officials who were being indicted. But Dennis seemed to want to shift the focus from drugs to something else. And that something else was going to be classism. Specifically, Dennis was about to declare war on the houseless of Key West. So this is all in 1976. So the first thing he did is he implored local police to arrest anyone sleeping outside and to immediately kick them out of town. He would then pass a law that made hitchhiking a crime with a fine of $250. And then he followed this up by passing another law that made walking around without a shirt illegal and punishable by a $25 fine. Now, Una, I'm sure you're thinking, oh, this has to be just for the ladies. No, this is for dudes too. If you're a dude walking around in fucking swim trunks and not on the beach, you're going to get fined $25.
Bro, it's Key West. Read the room.
Dennis would state publicly, quote, "I'm doing this to let the bums know and the hippies know that they are not welcome in this town."
Wow, this dude is square AF.
Your town, man. I've never been to Key West, but I imagine it's like half the richest people you have ever met in your fucking life, and the other half have just like a turquoise store on Etsy, and they live in a coconut shell, and
Totally, yeah. It's got to be that fine line of like, yeah, it looks slightly Jimmy Buffetted out, and then you realize like the place where they live is at least $1 million. So what am I doing wrong?
So at a later date, he would pass another bill banning boats from docking in certain areas, very particularly a wealthier area of town. And he stated this was important to pass because, quote, "the bums and freeloaders here are piling up." He would also claim that he was furious that while he was out boating with his family, he saw nude people on another boat. And Una, they were smoking weed. Now, this law would end up making its way to the federal court as unconstitutional, which made Dennis lose his fucking mind. And part of the problem that he was so mad is that the boats that he was most angry about were houseboats. Yeah, there were people living in their own fucking home.
Yeah.
Like, nude sunbathing off and on and smoking dope in the privacy of their own, I don't know, aft.
Exactly.
It's the squarest fucking thing. And it's just like, I'm sorry, Dennis, maybe just if you don't want to see nude dudes, fucking take your family somewhere else on the island, my guy.
How about you move to Ontario, sir?
Take your loser boat and fucking putt somewhere else. Yeah, and so it turns out he was mostly just mad that people were living on their boats in a nice part of town. And these people he called, quote, immoral and downright disgusting. And since drugs were clearly not such a problem in Key West, in 1977, Dennis wrote and passed a new law that banned the display of pornography, even if it was in an adult store.
Sir!
Yeah, there was what in the newspaper clipping I was reading, there was a guy who was running a porn shop, and he's like, yeah, I had to build a back room to put all the porn.
In my own store.
Yeah, the
which
store
I
you had to be-
legally own and is a porn shop.
100%. And even the there were 2 drugstores in town that were selling like Playboy, Hustler, and I think one was like Boom
Cosmo
or something. It was like something French, like for French ladies who are naked. I don't know. And they were just like, look, I'm just glad this is done, but I also need to note these were our best sellers, hands down. Nothing else in the store sold as well as these magazines.
I can't stress enough. The people of Key West love 3 things: Coke, houseboats, and butt plugs.
Look, man, the internet's not around. I am a rich weirdo. There are young people in swimsuits everywhere. I fucking need some.
We made it through the 60s.
I just want to go to a CVS and buy a penthouse. Please, sir. And
I am on vacation.
Yeah, and all these drugstores didn't want to build a back room for the 5 magazines they sold, so they just stopped selling them. Yeah, Dennis is a fucking buzzkill. But by the end of 1977, Dennis decided out of nowhere that he wasn't going to run for re-election, and instead began to climb the ladder at the Florida Keys Aqueduct Authority. By 1979, he had actually been promoted to the head of the entire organization, just in time to find out that the FKAA was FUCKED.
Ooh.
So it turns out that the desalination plant that they were using to convert seawater into human water wasn't exactly working to the top of its capabilities.
Oh, no, you guys.
So it needed fixed. But the things that make that worse is a lot of supplies that could be used to fix it had mysteriously gone missing before Dennis took over. So a lot of scrap metal was suddenly missing. A lot of like mesh and shit was just gone. And finally, it seemed that people were kind of vandalizing the the pipeline of water, the fucking life vein of the entire fucking community. And the way it read is it's just like teenagers fucking with shit.
I mean, yeah, were they tagging it or were they actually like trying to like pickaxe through it?
I think like kind of fucking with shit, trying to break it and then like freaking out when they actually did.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like teenagers.
Yeah, pretty much. And so things weren't going great. Throughout 1979 and 1980, the Keys would go through various waves of water shortages. And the FKAA would respond by either begging people to use less water, ordering people to use less water, or just kind of turning down the water pressure so people would have to use less. I mean, you know how that is when the water pressure's low and you just use less water. Instead, no, you always swear at the shower head and keep going despite whoever's doing this.
for 40 minutes because the shampoo is already there.
Look, Una, you've seen my hair. It is a forest of nonsense. I need at least 15 minutes to get this shit wet.
So, fun anecdote. I also in 8th grade went to camp on Big Pine Key, where there was like scuba diving and all this stuff. It's a lot of fun, but I think those water shortages were still somewhat in effect because there would be certain parts of the day where someone would be like, there's no water coming out. And the counselor would be like, well, you know what to do. Open up the back of the toilet, take the cup and finish the job.
Yep.
All right.
Oh my God. Yeah. There was a story talking about how quickly people were getting pissed off at this. Mainly it was a lot of people who were furious that they couldn't get their desired PSI coming out of their fucking water showers.
They're coked up and angry.
Yeah. Just like screaming at the fountain in a like foamed up fury. But there's also a story of someone, and this was like a top story in a paper where someone went down there and they went to a Burger King and they ordered a meal and they're like, just to let you know, we're not selling soda today. We don't have any water, which as far as I know means you have to shut the business down for the day, or at least that's what you should do.
Maybe in the rest of America.
Yeah, not a fucking Key West Burger King. This shit never stops. We're like a Waffle House in a hurricane, man. We're always fucking open. Doesn't matter how bad of an idea it is.
Would you like a shooter of uncut Dr. Pepper syrup?
Oh,
we can give you that.
No, I do. Oh my God, that shit is the best. Yeah, if you've never had straight soda syrup and you're under the age of 18, you got to try that shit. If you are above, heart health is very important and you should not do that.
Yeah, we here at Gaslight do not condone that usage if you are 45 and over.
No, soda syrup or cocaine, pick one. Anyway. So things got so bad that the press began asking anyone at the FKAA to talk to them, which led to Dennis banning any employee that worked there to speak to the press. And this is really funny because Denny never spoke to the press himself. It's always just radio silence for 2 straight years. You get water when you get it. Get off my fucking back. Who the fuck do you think you are?
Denny was meant to run a banana republic, and instead he ended up on the Council of Key West. Yeah. He was just wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah. Now you're just an asshole in charge of water, which is not a great place for an asshole to be. By 1980, the problem had gotten so bad that Governor Bob Graham called on the state legislature to remove the FKAA's authority to supply water to the Keys and place them under the banner of a state-run water company. Dennis screamed that this was government overreach, to which the legislature responded by voting for him to suck it. By mid-June, the FKAA was state-run, and Dennis was forced to resign his position and be demoted to the Director of Public Relations. And this lasted until he was fired later that year. Dennis would sue for wrongful termination, and a private settlement allowed him back on the job. And riding that kind of momentum, Una, who wouldn't want to run for mayor? For the past 2 years, you have been the figurehead of the problem that everyone is facing. I should rule those people.
Yeah. In his mind, he probably realized, wait, I haven't been ruling them the whole time? I gotta switch lanes.
Yeah, look, I don't want to rule the water. Water's fickle. Water doesn't listen. People listen.
Water is a teasing mistress.
Here on Gadfly, we do not slut shame water. Water can do what it wants on its own time. So he just decides he's going to run for mayor, and he's running against a pair of city commissioners for the role, one of which is extremely well funded. And of course, Dennis fucking won. He would end up winning the general election, but he didn't have enough, so it went into a runoff, and he led both races. But fucking how? Well, I got theories. Yeah. One is that when Bob Graham began his charge to remove the authority from the FKAA, Dennis was able to pivot and make the fight not about people getting the water they need to live, but about the state taking away their local power. And no matter how badly locals who were running it had fucked up the situation, people still felt that water authority should be the only people in charge of making sure that they have water. Now, the other theory is a bit more dark, and I was only able to find one article to kind of confirm this, so I'm just going to throw a pile of allegedly on it. So between the general and the runoff election, a local journalist by the name of John Pozzi had called Dennis a, quote, loyal and obedient puppet of the political elite. Now, John was running a bit of like a small newspaper that was just like, fuck everyone, also here's some coupons. And he just seemed like a very kind of fiery progressive dude. But according to Pozzi, Dennis responded to this by coming to the headquarters of his newspaper with a, quote, 6'6" friend and simply said, I'm going to get you, and then left. 4 days later, Pozzi got an early morning phone call that simply said, quote, John Pozzi is in big, big trouble. John Pozzi is going to die by fire.
Not fire, not on Key West. It's so loaded.
Yeah, waste water, man. Come on. The hurricane's just going to keep fucking going. So Pozzi contacted the sheriff. The sheriff directly called Dennis personally. And wouldn't you know it, the threats just kind of stopped after that. Now, supposedly the sheriff called up Dennis and was like, hey, I know you're not doing this. I know you would never do this, but I have to make this call. And Dennis was like, yeah, I would never do this. And then they just kind of stopped. but it's kind of interesting. And so there is also the thing that these threats have actually been corroborated by other people as well. The landlord of where John Pozzi was living got a direct call as well asking where John was, and she was like, he's not here, can I take a message? And the message was, John Pozzi will die by fire.
Yes, I'll leave a message.
Can you take this down, please? A threat in Helvetica font. 24 point, please.
He can call me back at this traceable number.
So yeah, so it kind of is one of those weird things where it's small town hardball is a really damn good way to get people to be too scared to go after you publicly. And he seemed to kind of have just enough connections to really push that as hard as he could. And it wasn't like he won a mandate by any stretch, but in the runoff he did get more than 50%. And yeah, Dennis Wardlow's in charge of Key West, motherfuckers. Deal with it.
Good job, hippies.
Damn it. Yeah, well, that was the other thing is the percentage of people who came out to vote was lower than expected because it was raining.
Come on.
It was like 46% of the town came out to vote.
Oh, that enrages me.
Mm-hmm. Either way, Dennis is now mayor of Key West. And in 1982, dude was about to make national fucking news. So, you know, it being 1982, cocaine was somehow even more popular than before. And Key West hadn't really done much to stifle the flow, at least according to Big Daddy U.S. government.
Forecast says there's a chance of snow in the Keys.
At least the next 8 months. We gotta fucking raffle this out. We gotta make sure everyone gets enough cocaine. Is there water? Fuck it. Don't care. Don't need water. Cocaine.
Don't care. It's monsoon season, motherfuckers.
Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take the seawater. We're gonna sieve it through the cocaine. That'll be fine. Anyway, so the U.S. government's like, hey, could you please stop this cocaine? If not, we're gonna do something about it. And do something they did. So the U.S. Border Patrol set up a checkpoint outside of Florida City. And they did so right at the intersection of Card Sound Road and Route 1. And these are the only two roads in and out of Key West. And so anyone leaving the Keys was suddenly required to go through this checkpoint as if they were going through customs. Now, this move pissed off the folks of the Keys for two big reasons. The first being is that they felt like they were kind of being treated like members of a foreign nation, which, yeah, you kind of are. If you're going through customs, it's because you're going from another country to a new one. And if you live in Key Largo, you're kind of in Florida. And if you go to Clearwater, you're still in Florida. The thing that sucks about this, though, is it's technically legal, the worst kind of legal. So the U.S. Border Patrol is allowed to stretch their authority up to 100 miles within U.S. territory. And for the sake of the Border Patrol, that 100-mile border starts on the shoreline no matter where you are, which means that Chicago, despite the fact being very far from Canada, is technically within 100 miles of the border.
Hilarious.
Yeah. The ACLU makes a very good point that 2/3 of the country live within this 100-mile stretch of land. So, and the Border Patrol has the authority to essentially check cars and operate as if anyone might be an undocumented citizen and things like that. They typically don't do it that often because if you do, people get kind of mad. But between 2016 and 2020, they kind of did it a lot.
All bets are off.
Now, nowadays, you do have to have a warrant to be able to check a car. But back in 1982, you didn't have to. This isn't something that they ended up having to have until, I believe, the 90s. So literally any car that they wanted to check leaving the Florida Keys, they could and did.
Oh, damn.
So during this time, they're checking for drugs, they're checking for undocumented peoples, and they are checking every single car they possibly could. And the other issue is that if you are checking every car coming out of the Keys during tourist season, then maybe you got a traffic jam going. And at its worst, traffic went as far back as 17 miles.
Oh,
yeah.
In the humidity.
The worst part is there is a bridge, multiple bridges over the goddamn ocean. And if you have a fear of bridges in the middle of a fucking traffic jam, you're not gonna have a good time. There is an Eastern Airlines, which operated at the time, also was able to use this as a great money-making boon for a little bit because they were the only air flight from Miami to Key West. And so it was a nice way for them to just be like, hey, you don't want the fucking cops to get you, right? Fucking take a plane.
It's pre-9/11. We don't care what you put in your carry-on.
Put your cocaine on our planes or get there faster. So Dennis and the city council would fight to try to get the government to back the hell off, but at every turn the request for an injunction would be denied. By April 23rd, 1982, Dennis had had enough. This would be the day that Dennis would take the city of Key West and secede from the United States, and he would rename the city the Conch Republic. Now, are you familiar with the term micronation?
Yes, I am.
So a micronation is typically a fake country created by usually one person, wherein they declare their sovereignty of a random place and treat themselves like a nation, despite the fact that the entire world does not accept it. So the most common example of a micronation, or at least it's most well known, is Sealand off the coast of Britain. Now, Sealand is essentially a pair of pillars that jut out from the ocean on top of a pedestal in which there's a place where a helicopter can land and there's like a radio station in there. And some dude took a boat out there, claimed it as his own, claimed it as a sovereign nation. And the British, as they are just like, well, that's funny enough. We'll just let him do it.
That idiot's cute.
Yeah, he's not doing anything wrong. He's a funny man who wants privacy. Fuck it, sure. Only him, though. No one else. I'm looking at you, Scotland.
Right.
There are dozens of these around the world where people just kind of decide their bedroom's a country or their home's a country,
or they come into a lot of money and they buy an island, and that's usually like stage 4 Ayn Rand problem.
Oh yeah. We'll be getting to one of those in the future. The various attempts of libertarians to try to make their own micronations in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It worked out great. That's why they're doing well. Anyway, and so essentially Dennis has created the Conch Republic, its independent nation of Key West, Florida. Now, before we dive into all this treason, it's good to know how this new country got its name. So back during the Revolutionary War, when the Brits lost, a bunch of loyalists suddenly felt the need to get the fuck out of America. And so they started looking for the nearest British-owned land around, to which they found the Bahamas. Now, the longtime Bahamians referred to these newcomers as conchs. Now, a conch is a biggish sea snail that lives inside a white shell. So just a bunch of whiteness coming to the island are now conchs. They're also very edible and supposedly taste really good in stews. They're kind of, from what I've read, they're between like a salmon and crab sort of thing. You can buy them actually at the fruit market down the street from me. It's like $80 a case to get it.
Oh, sure, yeah.
It's not a ton of meat, and conch ain't cheap. And in Key West, they decided to take on this name to refer to anyone who was born and lives in Key West. I think I was also reading that you can get a kind of version of this nickname if you've lived in Key West for more than 7 years. It's very much the when do you become a Chicagoan sort of argument. Like, how long do you have to be here?
Yeah.
Anyway, the now Conch Republic is its own nation. Dennis announced this to a gathered crowd outside of City Hall, and then he immediately declared war on America. So Dennis grabbed a loaf of stale Cuban bread, walked up to a local who was dressed as a U.S. Navy sailor, broke the bread over the top of his head, and then 1 minute later surrendered and applied for $1 billion in foreign aid. The aristocrats.
What?
Yep. That's how you run a nation. It's really funny that you were bringing up that he should have been ruling a banana republic. And the man fucking Cincinnati'd it. He was like,
yeah,
I'm here for as long as I need to be. And that is 1 minute.
Wait, it's the surrender I don't get, because it's like, okay, you can declare yourself an independent micronation. Boom, you have now declared war with this stale bread and a possibly naval officer or just a member of the village people. And from there, you then are like, haha, World Bank, give us monies. We are a developing nation.
It kind of goes back to that age-old question of when do you actually become a country? Like, how many people around the world need to recognize you? Because some countries recognize Palestine as a state. Some
right.
don't.
They don't recognize Taiwan.
Exactly. Yeah, and there are tons of like more quote-unquote legitimate countries around the world compared to micronations. They just haven't been internationally recognized to a certain percentage for it to kind of count. So it's kind of an interesting idea, and it also kind of goes back to the whole idea of fiefdoms and things like that back in the Middle Ages, when you could just be like, I'm a country, and I am until someone kills me.
Right. We haven't gotten to the prince yet, so as far as anyone cares, this is a nation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Until the Pope finds out, we're good.
Yeah, exactly.
Then we gotta go. And so it's kind of one of those things that I think it also depends on context, because since it's very clearly a goof, that I think it makes it easier for folks to be like, okay, you're your own nation. We get the point.
You can have your Coke dalliance.
Yeah.
We'd rather you do it in the house.
So like I said, the news of the 1 minute secession ended up making national news and boosted tourism to the Keys nearly immediately, especially since the town started putting up Conch Republic signage and flags pretty much everywhere. And they would continue the gag for as long as it would be financially beneficial. And the fucked up thing is that Dennis's plan actually worked. The U.S. Border Patrol removed the checkpoint shortly after this little stunt, and life went right back to what the Keys would call normal. And in most situations, this would probably be the end of our story. A goof went great, Dennis is kind of a square, but he pulled off one hell of a prank. But fuck you if you think Key West is done being weird. In 1983, Dennis wouldn't run for re-election, but in 1991, he would run again, win, and then win re-election in 93. And towards the end of his term in 1995, shit was about to get very busy, mainly because the Conch Republic was about to be invaded by their old nemesis, America. So the U.S. Army Reserve had been planning an operation in September of 1995, wherein reservists would conduct a training exercise where they invade an island and then conduct themselves as if the locals were a foreign culture. And to be honest, Key West is kind of fucking perfect.
They're already the Conch Republic.
The reserves of the 478th Civil Affairs Battalion planned the invasion for September 20th, got their troops ready, and started things to go in motion. They just made one key mistake. They kind of forgot to tell Key West. So people, like soldiers, start going onto the beach. All of a sudden, there's all these soldiers everywhere. And they're acting really weird and talking to people on the island as if they don't understand anything about them. It was quickly, easily figured out what the fuck was going on. The miscommunication got figured out really, really quickly. But Dennis Wardlow is not a man to let shit go if it's going to make the town some money. So since Key West was being invaded, he decided that the entire island was going to prepare for war. So, in one fell swoop, Dennis created the Conch Republic Navy, and he ordered the city-owned schooner, the Western Union, to attack the nearest boat that they could. So, said schooner was built in 1939 and had previously been used to lay cable between Florida, the Caribbean islands, and South America. It was made entirely of wood, but it did have 2 engines, and in 1974, the boat was converted to a passenger ship. In 1984, the ship was sold to Vision Quest National, which is a very shitty troubled teen organization with a history of abuse that is very well documented, and used the boat as like an international waters cure-all. I'm sure terrible things happened on it.
Oh no.
Eventually Vision Quest would have to sell the boat, and it's kind of in flux in the mid-90s, but we do know that it was in Key West and owned by someone who would take the order from the mayor of Key West to just send it out to war against one of the most powerful navies in the world. The sailors of the Western Union then proceeded to go to a Coast Guard boat. They pulled up alongside of it and started trucking water balloons, conch fritters, and stale Cuban bread.
Yes, the bread!
To which the Coast Guard responded to by pulling the hose on them. Coast Guard boats have a fire hose used to put out ship fires, and so water balloon, fuck off.
Yeah.
The Western Union immediately retreated when this started to happen. So the next day, the 478th Battalion apologized to Key West, stating, quote, "We in no way meant to challenge or impugn the sovereignty of the Conch Republic." And the day after that, they officially surrendered to the Conch Republic in a public ceremony.
Shut up.
Very technically, I feel like this makes them a real country.
I agree.
This is fucking paperwork.
Yeah, this is all evidence admissible in court.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also, frankly, amazed this isn't a Coen Brothers movie.
It very well fucking could be.
It absolutely should be.
Shocked that it's not. It's such a weird fucking story. So, by all rights, 1995 should have been a banner year for Dennis. Another thing, I wasn't able to really confirm this because some of the dates were getting weird, but it seems like the Conch Republic was invited to the Summit of the Americas, which is a big meeting for all of the leaders of North America, South America, Central America, and the Caribbean. Everyone was invited but Cuba. Cuba was like given a disinvitation, like a very serious, don't fucking come to Miami. But the Conch Republic apparently got invited.
Wow.
Yeah. I can't confirm or deny. I feel like that's something they would never admit to in the future if it did happen. But for the fun of it, let's say they did.
Yeah.
It was fine. But the thing is, this would also be the year that Dennis got indicted for bribery.
Dennis, that is not what they taught you at JC.
The JCs would hate you so much for this. You save briberies for retirement, Dennis. You're in the middle of your career, your fucking prime, my dude.
You're riding high.
So it turns out what Dennis had been doing was he was taking money from local tourist companies and then passing laws that would be beneficial to them. One company in particular, Warren Water Sports, was a sea bike company, which I think it's either those little swan boats or it's those tricycles with paddles on the front.
Ooh, I'm going with tricycles with paddles on the front.
Yeah. Apparently, there was more than one of those in Key West.
Yeah.
And he would end up passing a law that stated that you could only run your company 60 feet off of the beaches. And the other company that had a water bike thing were based on land. And so all of a sudden they couldn't operate, but Warren Water Sports was in the clear. And he did all of this for $7,700 over a 2-year period.
That's it, Dennis.
Mm-hmm. He really lowballed it. Apparently there was also another company that gave him money that wanted to chauffeur people around town in pink Cadillacs. I don't know who that appeals to. I mean, it sounds like it would work fine for a little bit, but I don't know how many Elvis fans go to Key West on a regular basis. And outside of that, what's your fucking market?
I think it's more that everything's in pastel colors down there.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
It's just a vibe.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's a good business model. That's our new brand. It's bachelorette parties where your party's only 3 people.
That
Unless you want to buy more Cadillacs.
Unless you want more Cadillacs, yeah.
That'll be great. We'll get a stretch Cadillac. It will run over everything and turn like a fucking box. So Dennis would end up resigning in shame. And then 5 months later, he was reelected mayor.
Oh, Key West! Have some respect for yourself.
Hey, this guy's a comedy legend. What are you going to do? You going to fucking cancel this guy for one bribery charge?
That's true. He's looking out for actual Key West. He's looking out for the Conch Republic.
100%. Like, you got to have the best water bikes. You can't let any dipshit with a fucking paddle boat come out here and say he's going to bike you around the island. That guy's going to get people killed.
In all honesty, considering that he was throwing out $25 charges for not having a shirt in what is essentially a Caribbean island.
I wrote.
It's like, this sound like, I'm amazed he got caught, because it's like, that just sounds like Dennis.
Yeah.
Oh, and he got $7,000 under the table for it. Well, all right.
Yeah.
You didn't have to.
If anything, I pity the man for taking so little. But it's
So
also a water
little.
bike company. How much money do they fucking have? Ugh, I need to learn about the water bike industry before I judge it. Anyway, so Dennis would have one last bit of conch publicity. During his last term, Dennis sent the conch Navy to invade Fort Jefferson in Dry Tortugas National Park. Fort Jefferson began construction in 1847, but it would never be completed. The fort would be used as a station during the Civil War, but afterwards, frequent hurricanes made completion of the fort lower and lower priority. The property would sit mostly abandoned until Franklin Roosevelt made it a national monument and ordered the Works Progress Administration to renovate the fort. And in 1992, the whole thing became a national park and a tourist destination. So why would Dennis invade? In 1995 and 1996, House Speaker and Republican Newt Gingrich caused a pair of government shutdowns, which meant that all national parks would have to shut down as well. That is, unless they were publicly funded during the shutdown. And Dennis, not a guy to lose tourism money for a long period of time, got the folks at Key West to raise up some money, and they all hopped on their boats, including the Western Union, and sailed out to Dry Tortugas Island to both invade the fort and to give their money to whatever park ranger was still there so they could keep running the show.
Oh.
And when they got there, no one was there.
Oh.
And then they got cited for invading federal land.
Ah.
Technically, it's federal trespassing, but it's more fun to say that they got fined for invading a fort. The case would go to court, but the second a judge looked at it, it was thrown out before he got even to the end of the page, I'm sure. And this would be the last major movement of the Conch Republic for nearly a decade. Dennis would fully retire from politics in 1997, and the Conch Republic had become more of a joke for tourism than a way to satirically enact change. In 2006, a veteran of the invasion of Fort Jefferson would push the Conch Republic back into the news. Peter Anderson announced that he had annexed the 7-mile bridge for the Conch Republic. Now, the 7-mile bridge had been built along with Route 1 in 1938, but after damage sustained during Hurricane Donna in 1960, plans were made to replace it. From 1978 to 1982, a new bridge was built alongside the old bridge. And once completed, entrances to the old bridge were destroyed, leaving behind a long span of bridge for literally no one to use. And I think they probably kept it there for coral purposes and habitat sorts of things, if I had to make a guess. And usually this would just end up being some weird sightseeing thing and something to do when you're on a bridge for 7 miles. But for refugees from Cuba, it became a point of very heavy contention. In America, we have a ton of immigration laws, but one of the more specific ones is the Cuban Adjustment Act of 1966. The law states that any Cuban citizens found on U.S. soil or in U.S. waters would be allowed to stay in America and apply for legal permanent resident status, no matter what. In 1995, though, this would change slightly when America agreed with Cuba that this would only apply to immigrants who had made it on land, and any immigrants that were found in American waters would be returned to Cuba, thus beginning what became known as the wet feet, dry feet policy. So on January 4th of 2006, 15 Cuban refugees made it to the abandoned section of the 7-mile bridge and assumed that they had made it to dry land. So when the Border Patrol came by, they immediately walked there and just assumed they were going straight into Florida. The thing was that the US government didn't consider the broken bridge to be a part of American soil, so the refugees were returned to Cuba. But if the bridge isn't US soil, then whose is it?
Oh boy.
To Peter Anderson, it was property of the Conch Republic. And the thing I actually like about this is he actually had a really wholesome plan for it. Dude wanted to build affordable housing on it. And the thing, though, is with no Dennis around, the government was kind of sick of their shit. And what should have been the low point of his career, Jeb Bush, while governor of Florida, had to release a statement that said, quote, "With all due respect to the Conch Republic, the bridge belongs to the people of Florida, and we are not currently in negotiations to sell it." And shortly after this, the U.S. courts would reverse the initial decision and state that, yes, the bridge is now American land, and if you end up there, you can come in. Problem, though, is this was made after those 15 dudes had already gotten there, so they were not allowed back.
Ah, dumb.
Since then, the Conch Republic has had a pretty quiet life. There had been a small war when the city of Key Largo took offense to Key West being the sole claimants of the name the Conch Republic, mainly because they wanted that sweet, sweet tourism money and hated the fact, I think, that they didn't think of it first and were just jealous that Key West gets all the money.
Suck it, Largo.
For a little bit of time in 2008, they called themselves the northernmost territories of the Conch Republic. Peter Anderson would sue them, though, because he was like, I came up with the name Conch Republic, and you owe me half of the money that you make on the name. And the fighting just got so bad that Key Largo decided it wasn't worth the trouble. Today, the Conch Republic maintains its own show of military force that includes a schooner and a fighter plane from the 1940s that, on occasion, intercepts Cuban fire pilots in the middle of defecting to America.
What?
The first time this happened in 1993, a dude literally got in his fucking 1940s fighter plane, flew out to the Cuban plane that was flying, intercepted, flew alongside him, and landed together, and they immediately made him the commander of the Conch Republic Air Force.
I love this.
It's really such a wholesome story in a lot of weird ways. I would also be terrified if I was that fucking Cuban dude flying out, though, just being like, what the fuck is this? Did I go back in time?
Yeah.
Am I going the right way?
Am I doing that like thing where it's kind of like the bends, but like you fly too fast, now your brain's all scrambled.
I swear to God, if Fidel is playing a joke, I am going to fucking crash this into the fucking sea.
This isn't funny.
The Conch Republic Independence Celebration has been held every April since 1990, and it's a kind of street party that features bar crawls, a dog costume contest, fake battle reenactments, and the Great Conch Republic Drag Race, which is an obstacle course completed by folks in drag. In the past, it's also featured bed races, which is when you turn a mattress and you put it on wheels and everyone pushes it like a bobsled while everyone's dressed in various costumes.
Aww.
And they also repeatedly try to set the world record for the largest key lime pie. It's easily one of Key West's busiest tourist days, and you can even purchase passports to freely travel throughout the nation. For a little extra, you can get an even better passport that gets you discounts at local businesses.
There we go.
They even have their own national anthem and flag, as well as a national motto, quote, "We seceded where others failed." Makes me so mad that fucking Dennis is the guy in charge of this shit. As for Dennis, he would end up being fined $12,900 for his bribery charges, and it was done via a Jeb Bush executive order. Like, he didn't even go to court. It's just like Jeb was so pissed off. He's like, "You owe the state almost $13,000.
Was there an exclamation point at the end of that number?
There fucking should have been. Also, I think this is a gadfly first where the amount people are being fined for bribery charges is actually more than the money they got for bribery.
Yes, which again, Dennis, like, upcharge yourself. You are worth it, sir.
Dude, we will send you out to the Bronx, get you a history lesson and bribe taking.
Yeah.
It's gonna be great.
Give you a master's course.
And the thing is, Dennis still lives in Key West today. Dude's alive and kicking. Anytime you need him for a photo op when other former mayors are present, he's always there. He still pushes for Key West, and he's a very avid supporter of the city. Also, fun fact, after his very first tenure, Key West elected one of the first gay mayors in the entire country. And most notably, in April of 2022, the Conch Republic will be celebrating its 40th anniversary. I'm still waiting to see what events happen, but not gonna lie, I'm kind of tempted to check this shit out.
Mazel Conch Republic. What I also love is, like, yeah, they get all the fun of micronation independence while still being able to lean heavily on, U.S. Postal Service, water distribution.
Exactly. It's such a wonderful thing that they've been able to, what's the word I'm looking for? Scam themselves into.
Yeah.
There's like, technically, if you wanted to produce the paperwork, I mean, you could argue for that bridge if you really wanted. I mean, Jeb's going to say no. It's going to be a weird fight that he might lose because, I mean, Jeb Bush is allergic to victory.
Well, and it's Ron Santis right now.
Ooh, yeah, no, hold off. You got to hold off. Don't do it now. I don't know who's after Ron, but maybe try your left then.
The virus itself.
Oh, God damn it. Look, Dennis Wardlow will run Florida like a water bike. It'll be really fun for about 5 minutes and then very tiring for the rest of the time, I assume. Anyway, yeah, Una, what do you think about the Conch Republic and good old Denny?
I mean, I definitely remember all the Conch Republic tchotchkes and postcards and everything when I was down there. But yeah, I just thought it was just like cutesy little thing. I had no idea the history. This was so delightful. I just took Key West as like an expensive neighborhood. Like, yeah. I didn't even consider that there would be, of course, local government there.
Yeah, it's very weird just because there's so much of Dennis's persona is fighting for the middle class of Key West that I've never been there, so I really can't describe it that well, but he does make a point that it's all very rich people or all these like weed smoking nudist vagabonds selling their fucking prayer bracelets and I don't know what other hippie shit. Like all natural Ouija boards.
Definitely.
And him just making a point where it's just like, guys, we're losing the middle class in Key West. We have to fix this. And for some reason, his solution is to kick out the poor.
Well, then the median changes of what's middle class. You don't fight with the numbers you want. You fight with the numbers you can make up. I don't know.
Take a telegraph schooner and you hope for the best.
This has definitely made me want to go back to Key West. Toot sweet.
Well, we'll have to get some passports then, just to be safe.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you next week on Gadfly. Gadfly is a production of Added Serotonin. Our episodes are edited by Brianna Valentine of Rem Alternus Productions. Our theme song is Sophomore Makeout by Silent Partner, and you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at GadflyPod.
Ready to level up your cosplay game? Check out the Geek Forge on Etsy. With a variety of props to give your photos that extra spark, you'll find just what you need. Hold magical fire in the palm of your hand, or take a potion to restore your mana. With a large variety of colors, you can choose your own magical flavor for your cosplay. Bring drama to your photo shoots with these vibrant props and more, all available at the Geek Forge. Are you ready to level up your cosplay?